Hey, you got Barbecue and Bottles here, and today we're going to be continuing our journey on how to sear a perfect steak in cast iron. We're going to be testing out a bunch of different things where there seems to be confusion online to see what really works and what doesn't. So last week, what we did was we tested how frequently you should be flipping your steak to get that perfect mired effect and crust. Today, we're going to be seeing whether it makes a difference as to whether you have to warm your steak up to room temperature or whether you can pull it right out of the fridge and season it and put it in the pan. So with that, roll that intro. So we've got two New York strip steaks here. One of them, on this side, we've had out of the fridge for about 2 hours to let it warm up to room temperature. The second one, we've pulled straight out of the fridge. So if you see, we do an internal temp here. We can see this one's warmed up significantly. We're reading 62 degrees on the inside, and this one's still down in the 40s. So we're gonna see whether that makes a difference in how even the cook is here at the end. So of course, the first step, we've got to pat these dry with a paper towel. You don't want any moisture on the outside of your steak as you're searing in cast iron. Now we're going to season them with a little bit of salt and pepper. Flip them over and do the same on the other side. So we're looking for the surface temperature here to read 500. So we've got our infrared thermometer here, and that's reading a little over 525. So that's perfect. Now we go ahead and we'll add a little bit of the olive oil. Now we're gonna make sure the olive oil gets an even coating all around the pan. Now we're gonna drop our steaks in. So we're at the 3-minute mark here. We haven't touched these steaks at all, and we're gonna flip them. Really got a nice mired effect on both of these. So we're going to let these go for about another 2 or 3 minutes until the internal temp hits 130. So now we're going to check the internal temp. The steak in the back was the one that we had out of the fridge for about 2 hours before we put it in the pan, and the one in the front is what came straight out of the fridge. So the internal temp's 110. And the second reading was 102. So as you'd expect, the steak in the back is actually heating up more quickly on the inside versus the steak in the front. Now we're gonna add some butter to the pan. A little bit of rosemary for flavor. And some crushed garlic for flavor as well. So now we're at an internal temp of 130 here on the steak in the back. The steak in the front, we've got an internal of 115. So we're gonna take these both off and check how they turned out. So because we're grilling outside here, we're just gonna temp this lightly so the steaks don't cool down as we let them rest for about 10 minutes before we cut in. We've got some compound butter here, so let's add that on while our steaks are resting. This compound butter is just a simple recipe of garlic, chives, and black pepper. We'll put a link down in the description below. But super easy to make, adds a big difference from a flavor standpoint. So now let's get this tented again. So we've had this tenting for about 10 minutes. Now let's cut into these and see how they turned out. All right, so this is the steak that we had sitting out of the fridge for about 2 hours before we put it in the pan. This is the one that came straight out of the fridge. As you can see here, this one's got a much more even cook and actually got to an internal temp of 130. This one, we've got like a real shade of gray all the way around the outside. It's almost rare on the inside here. So in this competition, I'm thinking from a doneness perspective, it's definitely worth taking your steak out early and letting it warm up to room temp. Now, on the crust, it looks like the crust on the one that was out at room temp for 2 hours actually turned out a little bit better. But you know what? Let's check the taste test, because that's what really matters. You've got the crunchiness of the crust, perfect seasoning. That one turned out really well. Just what I was looking for from a medium rare perspective. No slimy meat, it's definitely not underdone. Now let's try the other one. Also turned out well. A little bit less crust. Definitely slimier. We didn't cook that one as well all the way through. So for this competition, I'm gonna go with it really matters if you actually take your steak out an hour or two before you put it on the grill. If you've got the time, take the time, folks. So if you like this video, give us a like below, subscribe to this channel. We've got more of these steak experiments coming, so join us on the journey. Thanks for tuning in.